Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited. Isis, All That Glitters. The goddess next door takes on a bikini-clad bank robber in this action-packed all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis, All That Glitters in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. In the aftermath of losing over $8 billion as the result of an infamous ad supporting the Me Too movement, your Gillette CEO, Gary Coombe, has come out saying that losing that $8 billion was a price worth paying. And I have to ask the investors and shareholders of Procter & Gamble, are you willing to keep taking these kind of losses on your portfolio? And I also have to ask the employees of Procter & Gamble, are you willing to take a layoff as part of that price worth paying that your Gary Coombe is insisting is worth the loss? Now, your Gary Coombe seems to be one of these beta males who is in his own world, and as he sees the world through his woke rose-colored glasses, he believes it's his right to take all of Gillette's business and use it as a way to promote his support for the Me Too movement at the expense of the company's profits. And this is something that runs diametrically opposed to what a business would do. Any good CEO would be focused on the long-term business picture of a company's profits and not be focused on promoting an ideology. However, your Gary Coombe believes that it's his right to take other people's invested money and use it towards pushing identity politics and promoting social justice. Now, this Me Too ad has only cost Gillette $8.8 billion in the first quarter, and those losses are probably going to compound in the second and third quarters of this year. But your Gary Coombe believes that it's worth his company taking those kinds of losses so he can promote his own personal political agenda to pander to white feminists. Now, when I look at your Gary Coombe's behavior, if I were a shareholder, I would be very upset about this man's behavior because he's not looking out for the long-term best interests of the stockholders, nor is he looking out for the best interest of the employees, all who get their pay from the money that most of those men Gillette went out of its way to alienate spent on Gillette razors. So your Gary Coombe was not looking out for the best interest of the company. He was so caught up in his feelings regarding supporting the Me Too movement, he was willing to put the company in jeopardy as to these losses. And that is a reason I believe that your Gillette board of directors and Procter & Gamble board of directors need to make efforts to oust this Gillette CEO, because he, in his attempt to show how woke he is making the company go broke, and he is costing the company billions of dollars in one quarter alone. And that right there is more than enough reason for his termination. Now, the other reason I believe this man should be terminated is because of his insubordination. Because as a CEO, you have a responsibility to your employees, you have a responsibility to your shareholders, and it is not your right to take the company's money and use it to further your own personal political agenda. If your Gary Coombe felt so dedicated to the Me Too movement, he should have taken out his own paycheck and he should have signed a check donating it to the Time's Up movement if he felt so dedicated to that Time's Up movement. He had no right to take Gillette's money and give it to this white feminist to create that feminist ad, and he had no right to take those company resources and continue to further use it to promote this feminist movement, which was detrimental to the core business of Gillette, which was primarily men. So he had no right to come in and use the Gillette resources for his own personal gain. And when I look at his behavior, it is grounds for termination. And furthermore, grounds for termination is his continuing efforts to double down in defiance in the face of losses, saying that these losses are a price worth paying. Well, who is he to say that taking losses are a price worth paying when he is dealing with investors' money and investors' resources? It is not his right to take people's money and do whatever he pleases with it. He has to be held accountable. And when I take a critical look at your Gary Coombe and the way he is taking these resources, it's clear to me that your Gary Coombe is simping on these feminists in the Me Too movement, and he's simping in the worst way on these feminists in the Me Too movement. Because that ad was designed to degrade the image of men, and this beta male simp decided he was going to make this ad to degrade the image of men in the efforts of pandering to white feminists who do not buy Gillette razors, and that shows how he is not focused on the business. He is focused on getting the attention and approval of a group of women who have no interest in buying Gillette products, but are all there to get the attention of beta males like your Gary Coombe and get resources from guys like Gary Coombe, like this feminist ad agency. They reaped a bounty on this Gary Coombe and the simps who worked at Gillette, but instead of them going out of their way to admit the mistake they made, they want to continue to show how woke they are, even though this attempt to show how woke Gillette is driving the company further down the road to being broke. Now, your Gillette is one of the latest companies to get woke and go broke, not understanding that when you attempt to pander to women and audiences like feminists, what they do is they don't pay you any attention, because in most cases when you have beta males pandering to women, women do not respect guys who pander to them. And the reason why they don't respect guys who pander to them is because they're already getting the attention that they want from those guys, and they're getting what they need from those guys. So they don't respect those men because those men have lowered their value to those women. So your Gary Coombe, in his attempts to pander to these feminists, has lowered the value not only of himself by pandering to feminists, but he also lowered the value of Gillette's stock and Gillette's business, all due to his nature of pandering and simping to these feminists. And he's thinking that this is something good, that he's taking losses, and he's hurting their business and putting people at risk of losing their jobs and putting the company's stock options at risk, all because he wants to get the attention and approval of feminists, the same feminists who go out of their way to degrade the image of men, who are pleased with the degradation of image of men, and do not respect men. He's sitting there trying to pander to these women who in most cases were not the core customer base for Gillette products, and nobody in the board of directors really is paying attention to this and taking it seriously the way it needs to be taken serious. Because when you have a woke CEO getting ready to make the company go broke, that's when the shareholders need to hold a shareholders meeting, have a vote of no confidence on that CEO, and that's when the board of directors needs to offer up your Gary Coombe a severance package and send him on his way. Because it's clear to me that when you have a CEO more caught up in trying to promote identity politics over sales of product, you have a CEO who's completely out of touch as related to the job he was hired to do, the business he was supposed to take care of, and the goal that he was supposed to accomplish, which was in making sure that Gillette had a positive presence in the media, had a positive presence in most people's perceptions, and had an increase in its customer base. This man completely undermined Gillette's customer base by approving a campaign to support the Me Too movement, a movement which was not about empowering women, but it was all about old feminists trying to get resources from themselves by making false allegations against men and making those allegations to destroy men, all based on revised historical events. And this man decided to support this Me Too movement, and what he's done is, in showing how woke he has made the company head down the road to going broke, and it's going to continue to get broke unless somebody in the board of directors or shareholders holds Gary Coombe, this beta male chump, completely accountable for his actions and gives him a severance package and a termination, because that's what you do with a CEO whose eye is not on the prize. You send him packing, because if he cannot take care of your business and keep your business competitive, then you find somebody who can get the business competitive and get that person to run the company, because that person would be a better fit for the company. Because it's clear to me that Gary Coombe has been in the business too long, he's become too comfortable, and he's thinking that he can use Gillette investors' money for his own personal gain, his own personal agenda, and that shows me he is not capable and fit to be a leader at Gillette, and that it's time for the people at Procter & Gamble to find a new CEO, somebody who won't be using the resources of the investors as their own personal piggy bank and using it to promote their own political agendas, but somebody who will give people not only the best a man can get in terms of product, but also giving them the best a man can get in terms of professionalism, courtesy, and customer service, and a person who will give the very best in terms of focusing on the brands as related to Gillette. That's what they need from a new CEO, because the one they have right now, who believes it's a price worth paying to support the women of the Me Too movement, shows that he's completely clueless and out of touch as related to taking care of business for a company that caters primarily to men like Gillette. If you'd like to try some of my SJS Direct publications, like the John Haynes series, the ISIS series, the E-Steam series, and the Spinsterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.